Hi, I'm Andy Daniel, Consulting Architect with PernixData, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about PernixData FVP software and Citrix XenDesktop. Before I do though, let's talk a little bit about VDI storage I/O. So one common misconception is that VDI I/O is actually very read heavy. In fact, it's very write heavy. Typically, even as high as 80% writes versus 20% reads. In addition, not only is it very write heavy, but we also have lots of things to think about in terms of random writes and I/O variability. This includes things like, for example, boot storms and antivirus updates. Traditionally, when we talk about handling these things, we do so actually at the storage layer in the environment. So let's draw up existing storage. We also have, of course, our host servers. In this case, running ESXi. And then let's not forget our desktops. Now we also have our provisioning servers as well. We're not going to draw them up in this environment, but for example, in this case, let's talk a little bit about MCS, an example, right? So when we actually talk about MCS in this case, it's going to be provisioning dynamic desktops. And we think about, in this case, the base image. And then each of the additional desktops that actually get spun out. And so typically this may be something like, let's say 20 gigabyte for maybe something like a Windows 7 virtual machine. And then for each additional desktop that we provision, maybe another gigabyte in size. Now, where does PernixData FVP fit into this equation? We're actually going to be drawn in here at the host layer. And we're actually going to provide performance here. Now, the beauty of this solution is that we're actually going to install in the ESXi hypervisor so that we remain completely transparent to the existing environment. So this means you're going to continue to provision exactly the way you do today with MCS, right? So let's note this. Now, the beauty with FVP is that we're going to leverage the existing host. In this case, let's maybe talk about, for example, RAM, right? And by loading FVP into the hypervisor, it's going to actually extend the capabilities of this RAM to actually offload the existing storage, right? So this means that we now get server-side latency, right? So that's a wonderful benefit we get in this case. In addition, as we continue to add additional hosts, we can also scale out. So now when we actually think about the write pattern as a desktop, instead of actually traveling all the way to the back-end storage, we're actually going to intercept it here, and we're going to immediately acknowledge a write back to the desktop. So now, again, it performs its server-side latency. As we talked about before, we've actually deployed MCS desktops in this case, non-persistent or dynamic, as Citrix tends to call them. And the beauty here is that with optimization technology, this base image will actually only be loaded into FVP software in this performance tier once. So in this case, where we're using RAM as an example, we won't take up more RAM than is needed. So as we do that, we'll actually load only this base image into the performance tier here with FVP, and then as each of these VMs gets provisioned, each desktop will additionally take those up. Now again, I want to emphasize that we're not going to change anything about the existing environment the way we provision desktops as an example. The beauty there is that you'll continue, again, to provision exactly the way you normally do. Right? We're not going to change anything about that existing infrastructure. So we'll do that to actually eliminate all of the storage performance issues that usually associated with VDI, all with software using host level resources. For more information about PernixData FVP software and Citrix XenDesktop, check out PernixData.com.